So we're going to talk about Dave Chappelle first, right? And so
I told you my mom just called me now and said to be careful on stage. On the road,
I just heard Kurt's mom call him and say, "Be careful on stage." I just heard that.
People don't like you.
First of all, Kurt, how tall are you? 6'3"?
Just under 6'4", yeah.
So Kurt's 6'4". And maybe he doesn't look big on the computer or on the TV.
Well, drunks are drunks. I don't know what that is. I mean, that's probably...
No, this was... So here it is.
Excited.
So here's Dave Chappelle, and he's getting... That's the action shot. There is the guy tackling him. He's on stage at the Hollywood Bowl for Netflix is a Joke. I would say the security at Netflix is a joke.
I mean, it's better than the Oscars, so I'll give him that.
Yeah, that was better than the Oscar. Well, it was because it wasn't a celebrity attacking him. If that was Will Smith, I bet everybody would just stood around and laughed. And then giving him
that would be funny if Will Smith just got Dave Chappelle too out of nowhere.
Just out of nowhere. What? Will Smith just went after Dave Chappelle. That would be funny. So there it is. So that happened. That was last night. There he is he got tackled and he got knocked over pretty good too. And he's wearing a suit. It was a badass suit. So there it is. There it is. You see it? Watch.
Yeah.
So,
what the?
And the guy's doing a comedy show. There it is.
I mean,
that's a pretty good hit. You got a pretty good hit on it. Now, Dave Chappelle has been working out. When I met him, I met Dave Chappelle when he was like 19 years old. I worked with him in Chicago, and we took him around Chicago for a weekend or whatever. And he had the skin. He was like Jimmy J.J. Walker skinny. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah.
He was skinny like, I don't know. I'm thinking trying to like the skinniest person you ever saw. He had skinny chicken.
Yeah, when I wrote for him, he was like skinny still. When Chappelle's show was out,
super skinny.
Yeah.
But he has bulked up now. I mean, have you seen him? He's huge.
Yeah,
really.
I would never try to tackle him.
I wouldn't try to tackle him now. He's huge, right? So here it is, a long shot. Here's a long shot.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, that's from Sky News. So let's watch. Let's see what this sounds like.
Where did he come from? He came from the stage from the audience. From the audience? The dude. That's the dude.
Somebody came from the audience?
Yeah.
Thank God that nigga was clumsy.
What the fuck? This can't be real.
Here he is. So here, Dave Chappelle comes back out, and he says, and Chris Rock is there. Watch this.
Was that Will Smith?
That's it. Was that Will Smith? That's what I wanted to get. He eventually says, I think it was a trans man. So he says that as a joke, and everybody laughed.
Right.
Okay. So now here's the guy that did it. They kind of beat the crap out of him. You want to see it?
His arm is.
Turns out. I don't know if you see his arm.
I can't. It's like.
It looks like a broken arm. It looks like it's bent the wrong way. Looks
Oh
like
my
they took
God.
his arm and twisted it and made it bend the wrong way. And his face is also beaten up. You can't see it in this picture. But he has a closed eye. And so I think they set an example for what is going to happen to you if you attack a comedian on stage and you're not Will Smith. So if you're Will Smith, everybody's going to keep their shit together for a few seconds. But if you're anyone else, that's what's going to happen to you.
You better pray to God your name's Will Smith.
Yeah.
The Will Smith, not just another one of the many Will Smiths.
That's right. So that's a pretty bent arm. Let's watch it again. That's a bent arm. So the Los Angeles Police Department told NBC that the male suspect had been armed with the... Can you see if they found out what his name is?
Okay.
Look it up.
I'll look it up right now.
The male suspect had been armed with a replica gun that could eject a knife blade when discharged correctly.
What?
It was unclear if the suspect made an attempt to use the weapon.
The news I heard was he had a replica gun with a knife attached to it, which I assume meant like a bayonet on your gun. But it's a fake gun that shoots knives. Is what he was armed.
I guess you press a button and the knife comes out.
Do you want the name of the suspect?
Yeah, what's the guy's name?
According to ABC7, Isaiah Lee, 23, was taken into custody Tuesday night after tackling Chappelle during the performance. That's what I have so far.
And anything else about this guy?
I'm looking at that too. Replica handgun knife. Was armed with a replica handgun knife. Photos of the replica whose knife blade extends outward from underneath the gun's barrel. So
a switch knife, a switch gun.
Yeah, it looks like that.
A man charged and tackled Chappelle just as the show was ending, according to Brianna Sachs, a reporter at the show. She said security rushed and started punching and kicking the shit out of Chappelle's attacker.
He waited till the end of the show?
Yeah, I guess.
That's polite of him.
That was polite. He waited till the end. People got their money's worth. Another journalist at the show said they had lunged at Chappelle and sent him flying in the air. He fell backwards on his back with his arms and legs up in the air. He was obviously in shock. We were all in shock. So here, after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, here's the kind of stuff that was all over Twitter. This tweet is still up. So it's by somebody called JD Occasionally. This is they, them. It's a trans woman. Dave Chappelle, you're next. Why is that okay? Why is it okay for trans people to advocate for violence against anybody? Dave Chappelle never advocated for violence against trans women.
Well, this seems just to be by making a joke, he directly the argument is him just saying anything about it that isn't exactly what some maniac on Twitter wants to hear exactly is the same as killing. But this is like just fine because I don't know if you know, there's a bunch of people who think it's not violence if it's like for a good cause. Like literally, they think it's not violence. So once you redefine everything, then that's how you can have this kind of hypocrisy.
Kurt, do you see this? 56,000 likes. That wasn't just a rando. I mean, this might be a rando person, but what I'm saying is 56,000 likes. So that's speaking for a large swath of some kind of population.
I'll bet you it's not mostly trans people. I'll bet you it's mostly like allies.
I don't think there's 56,000 trans people following this person on Twitter. So no, I don't think there's mostly trans people either.
Yeah.
But isn't that, I think that's a double standard. I think that's a crazy double standard. That tweet's still up.
As a male, you would think that.
When I came to the show, that tweet was still up. There's another one. Look, I'm sorry, but I would love to see more comedians who say shit like this get slapped. Might teach them humility and manners.
Boy, that guy really has a lot of respect for the movie G.I. Jane, huh?
That's at Simi Transy. Simi demands rights, they, them. So that's another trans person who is calling for violence.
But what does he care about Chris Rock? Like, do they just want to get Chappelle so much that the Chris Rock thing has nothing to do with anything trans?
No.
And all these people jumped on it like, yeah, get Chappelle. Like,
well, it seems like they're violent. It seems like there's a swath of the vocal trans community. It seems like the most vocal ones. I mean, I don't know many trans people except the ones who are vocal. So I don't know. I'm not in a position.
Quite a few, and none of them were like this.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I mean, I've heard you talk about that. You know, quite a few trans people, and they're
in New York, dude. If you're gonna be in New York up all night around town, you're gonna you're gonna have a lot of interaction with trans people. I've never met someone who acted like that ever in real life. On Twitter, you would get the impression it's like really common, you know? So I don't know, like Twitter sucks. It really does. Like,
so it's just crazy that, I mean, and again, I think I would be considered an ally for the LGBTQIA community, not the A's, the LGBTQIs. I stop at the A's, and A's? It's asexual.
Oh, pick a team. I'm joking. That's the one.
I'm
no
joking
one will
too. I know that's the one. That's the one I make jokes about. But I can advocate for their 100% civil rights and no discrimination in any way, in employment, in housing, in anything. So that used to be called an ally. So I don't know what they'll call me now, but that's what I think.
You know, partly this is keyboard work. Like, you know why I probably never met anyone in person like this? Because that was people who you meet in person. And a lot of this is like two online people, you know, who are always like road rage maniacs when it suits them, you know?
Yeah. Here's another one. Says, I personally would like to see more comedians get slapped up. I'm talking about Dave Chappelle, by the way.
Boy.
But I love the good punctuation. I personally, personally, comma. It's nice how they did that, right?
You know, I could see a big resurgence of the Three Stooges right about now for a whole new audience.
The correct answer is someone should have slapped the shit out of Dave Chappelle too, said Blake the Lich.
Yeah, so that's just
again
here projecting on Chris Rock their Dave Chappelle anger.
Since we're slapping comedians, let's do Dave Chappelle next. Diedrich Mandel. No, none of these people got their tweets taken down or got kicked off Twitter for advocating violence. And it's targeted. It's targeted violence.
It's the most targeted.
The most targeted violence you could ever have.
Surgical precision.
Tony Baker, comedian Tony Baker, said some dude tackled Dave Chappelle on stage and that dude got stomped out forthwith. They took his arm off and put it back on backwards. That's what he get. This attacking people on stage ain't gonna fly.
Unless you're Will Smith. That was a great point.
Yeah, unless
you better be very famous and liked make a lot of money for a lot of people.
For a lot of people, that's right. That ain't no 23-year-old kid, I'll tell you that. So I think that's it for this, but there you go. So that's what, and I predicted this. I don't, not that it takes the Nostradamus to predict this, but I did tweet out immediately after Will Smith did that this makes every live performer less safe. What he just did was he didn't protect women. He wasn't protecting anybody. He was making everybody less safe, including women who are performers. Live performers. Now, Will Smith doesn't perform live anymore, so he doesn't give a shit. He always has protected on a movie set. Now, if he was still doing stand-up comedy, I bet he would think differently about smacking a performer and setting that kind of an example. What's that?
Will Smith did stand-up?
I mean, didn't he? I mean, he did rap. He was a rapper. He was a rapper. He didn't do stand-up. He's a rapper.
Well, you could tell they're sending a message because they broke his slapping arm.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, so that's that. So it happened. So, I even when I tweeted that out that this makes everybody less safe. So now the next time a comedian has to deal with a female heckler at a show, that female heckler's husband or boyfriend is going to feel emboldened to go do something about it to that comedian. That's what I said. And I remember a good friend of the show, DC Bureau Chief of The Intercept, Ryan Grimm, retweeted that, said he's right. So, you know, I was right if that guy tweeted it and said I was right because he hates me.
I remember you saying it, and I was like, you know, I've been attacked on stage before, and I was like, yeah, I mean, but I just didn't expect that quickly we would hear it come true. Like that kind of really shocks me.
Yeah, it's almost like the next time Dave Chappelle did a concert, he got attacked.
Yeah, that's what.
And that had to, I mean, that kid had to pay a pretty penny to get those seats. He was up front. I don't think you can't, at the Hollywood Bowl, you just can't come from the stands and make it onto the stage without someone stopping you, right?
That's why he waited to the end of the show. He probably paid a lot for those tickets and he wanted to see the show too.
He probably wanted to see the show.
Why would you wait till the end if you want to stop his?
I know. If you really wanted to hurt somebody, you do it right at the beginning. No, he wanted to see the show. It cost him $75, I bet.
What if it turns out this has nothing to do with anything trans, and he was like trying to impress Jodie Foster or something like that? You know,
wouldn't that be? Maybe if he was trying to impress Caitlyn Jenner.
He was trying to impress Caitlyn Jenner.
All right, so there it happened. We predicted it would happen, and it seems like as soon as he started performing, it happened. And I hope all those people are proud of themselves that they were wishing violence on Dave Chappelle, and it happened.
think they are, and they said it openly on Twitter with no repercussions.
Yeah, you're right.
You can threaten it, incite it, at the end, gloat about it if you're on the right algorithm with them.
Okay, so I don't. I've been attacked on stage 3 times. One was someone throwing a glass at me. I think that counts.
Yeah, that counts.
I think that counts. So anyway, there you go. It's often I'll be not often, but every once in a while I'll be on stage and I'll have a thought like, wow, somebody could do something. Like I'm very vulnerable. And plus there's lights in your eyes when if the comedy club is lit correctly, there'll be light in the performer's eyes. Now, a lot of the clubs I play, they light the audience and they don't light the comedian. I know that sounds funny, but that's how it works. They like to light the audience. I don't know what it is about comedy clubs, but they like to light the audience. Have you noticed that, Kurt? You play comedy clubs, they light the audience?
I need to be able to see them enough.
But you like it. You're one of those guys who
well, I'm waiting for an attack from all sides, so I like to check but I don't want it where they're like crazy. If I can't see them, I feel like I'm cut off. In fact, that's when it'll go bad, when I can't see. Like if something goes wrong, if I can see people, I just have more like power over what's going on, I feel like. But that's I'll be on extra guard now. That's really something, man.
Yeah, I'm talking about. The audience is better lit than the comedian. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's not good. I don't like that.
Yeah. I've experienced that many times, and I'm sure I'm going to experience it many more times. There's 2 things comedy clubs have to get right. It's the sound and the light, and they find a way to mess them up 90% of the time. Only 10% of the clubs I go to have the sound and light correct.
Well, also, it's a crapshoot on security. Like,
oh, right.
I just go in assuming that I'm going to have to also bounce the show.
That's right. Yeah,
I just kind of accept that. But sometimes places are great. But I
had a club manager say to me one time. I was like, hey, what? You don't have any bouncers? I just got to deal with this shit. And blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you got a microphone? Can you handle it? I have a micro. Yeah, I have a microphone because I have to do a show. Not until I have to bounce the fucking room.
Yeah, I won't, like, some places will be really like, get someone out, and like, I won't even want them to take someone out. See, somebody like heckling me is like fine to me because you're engaging me. So that I can work with that real easy. The thing that'll mess your show up is, a physical attack or where someone's being a huge, it's just the toughest thing to do when somebody's a huge distraction.
For me, it's worse if they're not talking to me. Like,
right, exactly that.
The only time I ever walked a room was when there was a table of people and they wouldn't stop talking to each other. And they were like 2 tables back from the stage. And I said, hey, you guys got to shut up. It's distracting. And they go, oh, we're not bothering you. And I go, what the fuck? You guys are having full-blown conversations 2 feet from the stage. There's people here to see a show. You're not funny. And they probably had 10 bouncers at this place. It was called Joey's in Livonia, and on the bottom floor was a nightclub, and on the upper floor was the comedy club. There was not one bouncer in the fucking comedy club. They were all downstairs trying to get laid. And so here we are. We got a fucking 200 people packed. I'm a special event, and there's not one bouncer in the room. And so,
Livonia also,
I just decided, well, if they don't give a fuck, why should I give a fuck? And so I just started insulting that table until they left, and they were not going to leave. They were hunkered. So the rest of the crowd left. They wanted to see the show, and I was like, I'm not doing a show until these people leave, and they wouldn't leave, and they didn't get a bouncer, and so that's what happens when you run so that's how comedy clubs are run in general. Well, so there's 10% of comedy clubs that are run really well. Most of the comedy clubs are not. And that's the problem with comedy clubs. That's why people, when they can play theaters, they immediately play theaters. But, and the good clubs, you know what they are, right? We just played a couple of them. But anyway, there it is. That's Dave Chappelle. We're doing live stand-up shows in Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Des Moines, Omaha, Kansas City, Las Vegas, all over the country. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for tickets. And single tickets now available at all venues. So if you tried to buy one before and you couldn't, single tickets are now available. Plus, while you're at jimmydorcomedy.com, why don't you become a premium member? Sign up to our mailing list so when they cancel us, we can still stay in touch.